Picture this. You're standing in a sea of millions of people.
Oh, yeah.
The air is just thick with humidity, right? You hear the sound of rhythmic drums, and there's this collective chanting that just like reverberates right through your
Of an
chest.
overwhelming sensory experience.
Totally. And parting this massive ocean of humanity are three towering, incredibly heavy wooden chariots rolling forward like these slow-moving mountains.
Right.
Now, on the surface, this is one of the grandest physical events on Earth, but, you're not just looking at wooden carts. You are actually looking at a complex mathematical calendar, a biological heat map, and surprisingly, a radical blueprint for social equality.
Yeah, it really is a profound paradox. I mean, it's an ancient blueprint of how we move through the physical and spiritual world, but it's masquerading as this massive public spectacle.
Exactly. So today, our mission on this deep dive is to explore a text called Jagannath Deber Rath Rahasya.
Which translates to the mystery of Lord Jagannath's chariot.
Right. And what struck me immediately in these pages is how this text forces theology into this, head-on collision with physics and biology.
It's definitely not your standard religious text.
Not at all. But before we get to the hard science of it all, help me understand the core visual here. Of all the ways to conceptualize moving through life, why a massive wheeled vehicle?
Well, there is a specific metaphor from the ancient Kathopanishad mentioned in our source that compares the human body to a chariot.
Okay, let's unpack this
Yeah.
because it's pretty intricate.
Yeah, it's a brilliant psychological model that honestly still holds up today. The Kathopanishad lays it out mechanically. So your physical body is the chariot itself.
Okay.
The soul is just the passenger, right?
Yeah.
Sitting in the back, just observing the ride.
It's just along for the trip.
Exactly. Now, your intellect, your ability to reason, is the driver behind the wheel. Your mind, meaning your thoughts and desires, well, that acts as the steering wheel or the reins.
Got it.
And your sensory organs, those are the horses pulling you forward.
So if my intellect is a bad driver, my senses, those horses are just going to pull me straight into a ditch.
Pretty much, yeah.
That is essentially like ancient psychology for doom scrolling on a smartphone when I know I should be sleeping, right? My intellect knows better, but my senses take the reins.
That is the exact mechanism they're describing. I mean, the text actually links this to chapter 2, verse 61 of the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the underlying thesis is that if you lack cognitive control, your senses are like wild, unbridled horses.
Huh.
The intellect has to hold the reins of the mind firmly to keep those sensory horses in check.
Right.
So when millions of people are watching this massive chariot journey, they're being given a physical, external representation of their own internal struggle,
Wow.
navigating that heavy, unwieldy chariot through a chaotic crowd. That mirrors our own navigation through life's joys, sorrows, and, distractions.
But the thing is, and this is what really got me, the text doesn't just stay in the realm of psychology or philosophical metaphors. It takes this detour into hard astronomy and biology that frankly caught me completely off guard.
Yeah, it takes a sharp turn.
It really does. So the festival happens in the month of Ashad. Tell me about the astronomical significance of this specific timing. It clearly isn't just, a random date pulled from a calendar.
No, not at all. The timing is mathematically deliberate. The month of Ashad marks a major astronomical shift called Dakshinayan.
Okay.
This is the beginning of the sun's southward journey in the sky, well, as observed from the northern hemisphere anyway.
Right, the days start getting shorter.
Exactly. But what's fascinating here is how the source material explicitly connects this solar movement, and by extension, the deity Vishnu, to the very biological essence of life on Earth.
Yeah, I really want to dig into that biological connection because the text literally pauses the theology to list body temperatures.
It does.
It reads like a comparative biology textbook. What is the actual data they are referencing here?
Well, the source notes that mammals have an average body temperature of 97 to 99 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
It points out that dogs sit around 101 to 102 degrees. Birds run incredibly hot at 105 to 109 degrees.
Wow, that's high.
Yeah. And cold-blooded reptiles fluctuate between 68 and 95 degrees based on their environment.
I have to admit, I was completely confused reading this at first. Why is an analysis of an ancient scriptural festival dropping specific Fahrenheit ranges for reptiles and birds?
Because it's using empirical data to prove a cosmic point, which is that warmth is the fundamental prerequisite for life.
Whoa, I see.
Right. Without the sun's thermal energy, Earth is just a frozen dead rock. The text argues that Vishnu, represented as the solar entity, is the ultimate provider of this warmth.
So the chariot ride represents the sun's life-giving journey across the sky.
Exactly. The physical heat of your mammalian body is, according to this philosophy, the literal presence of the divine inside you.
That's incredible.
When a living creature dies, the body grows cold because that solar energy, that thermal spark of life, has just, well, vacated the premises.
So witnessing the deity during this specific solar phase isn't just a passive viewing experience then,
Not at all.
because the text cites the Skanda Purana, claiming that seeing the deity specifically viewed as the Brahmana, or dwarf avatar during this time, alters a person's spiritual trajectory.
It does.
It potentially frees them from the cycle of rebirth entirely.
The stakes are astronomical for the participants. I mean, you have this complex intersection of celestial movement, biological thermodynamics, and spiritual liberation all happening simultaneously.
Okay, so understanding the philosophy and the solar thermodynamics is one thing, but translating cosmic heat into a wooden cart seems structurally impossible. How do they actually build a vessel meant to carry the sun?
Whoa.
Because the construction doesn't seem like they just chop down a random tree and start carving.
Oh, no, no. It is an incredibly meticulous, highly engineered process. Every single measurement is dictated by ancient, rigid formulas. They use a very specific ancient unit of measurement called the yab.
Yeah, I was trying to wrap my head around this measurement. A yab is the equivalent of 8 barley grains lined up end to end,
Right.
which comes out to roughly 1 inch. But I need to push back on this a little bit. We are talking about engineering a massive structure for the supreme lord of the universe.
Sure.
Why are they measuring gods using sandwich ingredients? Like, why not gold or something more permanent and, I don't know, elevated?
Because it intentionally grounds the divine in the agrarian reality of the people.
Oh, okay.
Barley is a staple crop, right?
Yeah.
It's the foundation of survival.
Hmm.
So by measuring the deities and their chariots in barley grains, they are literally sizing the cosmos using the food that sustains human life.
That's actually really poetic.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that the divine is fundamentally tied to the earth and to agriculture. And using that agrarian metric, the idol of Lord Jagannath is precisely 84 yab.
Which is about 7 feet tall.
Right. His brother, Balaram, is 73.5 yab, and their sister, Subhadra, is 52 yab, so about 4 1/3 feet tall.
Okay. And I'm looking at the physical descriptions of these idols in the text, and they are striking. They are definitely not your typical Greek statues with perfect anatomical proportions.
Definitely not.
The faces are entirely round with massive circular eyes, and they lack distinct hands. They just have these smooth stumps.
Yeah.
If they represent the supreme architects of the universe, why do they look so abstract?
Well, the text addresses this visual anomaly directly. The round shape isn't a lack of anatomical sculpting skill. It's an intentional mimicry of the sun.
Ah, tying back to the solar journey.
Exactly. Connecting back to the solar journey we just discussed, Jagannath is a physical representation of that solar orb. The large, round, lidless eyes and the circular face are meant to evoke the sun rising over the ocean horizon.
And what about the hands?
As for the lack of distinct hands, it communicates a specific theological concept, which is omnipresence.
Oh, I see.
The divine doesn't require physical appendages to manipulate the world. Its power isn't limited by human anatomy.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about the chariots themselves, because there are 3 distinct vehicles for these siblings, and the scale is just absurd.
Oh, they're massive.
I know they require a massive amount of neem wood, but what are the actual physical specifications of these structures?
They're essentially moving buildings. First, you have Nandihosh, which is Lord Jagannath's chariot.
Right.
It stands 45 feet high, draped in yellow and red fabric, and rolls on 16 massive wheels.
Wow.
Then you have Tuladwaj, the chariot for his brother Balaram. That one is 44 feet high, covered in green and red, supported by 14 wheels.
Okay.
Finally, Darpadalana, the sister Subhadra's chariot, stands 43 feet high, draped in black or blue and red with 12 wheels.
I'm noticing a very specific descending pattern in those wheel numbers,
Yeah.
16, 14, 12. Are those structural requirements for weight distribution, or is there another layer of meaning here?
It's almost entirely symbolic, well, and functional as a calendar.
Really?
Yeah. Take the 16 wheels of Jagannath's chariot, for instance. They represent the 16 phases of the moon, known as the Kalas.
Okay, wow.
And the construction of these chariots always begins on a highly specific astrological date, Akshaya Tritiya, which ties the start of the build to the agricultural cycle.
So every single piece of wood, every wheel, is a
Yes,
meticulously calculated calendar.
exactly. It physically weaves together lunar phases, the solar journey, and the farming seasons. They have literally engineered time and space into a moving wooden structure.
Okay, but if this event is so mathematically perfect, rigidly engineered, and, orthodox, the origin story of the idols themselves completely throws me off.
Yeah, that's quite the contrast.
It really is. It reads like a wild science fiction narrative that blends entirely different societies together.
The legend from the Skanda Purana does incredible cultural work, and it is a massive departure from strict Brahminical orthodoxy.
Can you walk me through the legend of King Indradyumna? Because the tension between different societal classes starts immediately.
Certainly. So, according to the legend, Queen Indradyumna is desperate to find an ultimate secret deity known as Nilamatava.
Right.
He sends an emissary, a Brahmin named Vidyapati, to locate it. Vidyapati eventually discovers that Nilamatava isn't housed in some grand marble temple.
Where is it?
The deity is being worshipped secretly in a forest cave by a tribal Sabar king named Vishwavasu.
Ah.
So from the very beginning, the most sacred object in this theology is in the possession and protection of an indigenous tribal community, not the ruling elite.
But then the idol mysteriously vanishes from the cave.
Yes.
King Indradyumna is devastated and he goes straight to the creator god Brahma to ask for help. And this is the part that I really want to slow down and unpack because the text describes literal time dilation occurring during this visit.
It's a phenomenal concept to find in ancient literature, isn't it?
It blew my mind.
The text explains that time is not absolute. It moves at vastly different speeds depending on the realm you are in. A single day in Brahma's realm is incomprehensibly long compared to human time.
This sounds exactly like Einstein's theory of relativity,
Right.
or modern theoretical physics, just wrapped in mythology. So Indradyumna thinks he is just popping into Brahma's realm for a quick consultation, but because of how time functions there, entire epochs pass on Earth. At the time he returns, everything he knew is gone, right?
Precisely. His kingdom has fallen. The grand temple he began building for the deity is completely buried under the sands of time.
Wow.
It remains lost for centuries until a completely different ruler, King Galamahava, is riding his horse, and the horse's hooves accidentally strike the spire of the buried temple jutting out of the sand dunes.
That is an incredibly cinematic way to explain the passage of ages.
It really is.
But beyond being a great story, scholars in the source material, like D.C. Sarkar and Pallab Singh Gupta, they use this legend to prove a larger point about cultural synthesis, right?
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, they argue that this story is proof that the festival is an amalgamation of India's diverse spiritual history.
How so?
Well, you have the deep roots in ancient tribal, specifically Sabar agricultural fertility cults, where the deity originates. Then you have the Aryan Orthodox traditions, represented by the kings trying to build grand temples.
Right, the temple builders.
Exactly. You even see strong Buddhist influences. I mean, the very act of pulling deities on massive chariots and the specific path-clearing rituals share deep mechanical parallels with Buddhist practices from that region.
Okay, I have to push back on this idea of seamless cultural synthesis, though.
Okay, go for it.
If this chariot journey is supposedly this highly elevated, mathematically perfect, sacred space, I don't understand the inclusion of a tradition called Rathachala.
Yes, Rathachala.
The source material notes that during the procession, crowds traditionally hurled slang, inappropriate jokes, and vulgar insults. That sounds more like a chaotic riot than a sacred Orthodox ritual.
I can entirely see why that feels contradictory, but it is actually the strongest piece of evidence for that cultural synthesis we were talking about.
Really?
That practice of hurling slang is a direct, unfiltered remnant of those ancient agrarian fertility rituals we mentioned.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, in many early agrarian societies, pushing linguistic boundaries using vulgar or explicit language was intimately tied to rituals meant to stimulate the fertility of the earth.
So yelling insults was supposed to help the harvest.
Exactly. The idea was that breaking social taboos generated raw, creative energy needed for a successful harvest.
So rather than sanitizing the festival and removing the tribal elements, the Orthodox establishment just absorbed the vulgarity right into the sacred procession.
Exactly. The fact that Rathachala survived within this massive religious framework proves that Jagannath's chariot journey is an organic, evolving tradition. It acts as a pressure release valve for society. It strips away the rigid, hierarchical stiffness usually associated with high theology. It firmly states that these deities belong just as much to the farmers and the tribal communities as they do to the high priests reciting Sanskrit.
That's fascinating. And this breakdown of social rigidity isn't just an abstract theory either,
No, it's very real.
because the text gives us some sobering history about moments when this entire tradition was physically threatened and had to rely on that collective resilience.
The physical survival of the festival is a testament to its cultural importance.
Hmm.
The source details a specific event in 1733 when Nawab Muhammad Taqi Khan attacked Puri.
Okay, but how does a society hide three 45-foot wooden chariots and massive idols during an invasion? That sounds impossible.
Well, they had to adapt instantly. The massive chariots obviously couldn't be saved,
Right.
but the deities themselves were secretly moved, smuggled away from the Grand Temple, and hidden in the islands of Chilika Lake. The text notes, they remained hidden there for exactly 9 months and 27 days to protect them from destruction.
9 months and 27 days.
Yes. It reinforces the metaphor we started with, The chariot represents life, and sometimes navigating life requires you to completely retreat, hide, and survive before you can roll forward again.
And when they finally do roll forward, the physical mechanics of moving these structures force a kind of radical egalitarianism.
It really does.
Because to move a 45-foot tall, 16-wheeled wooden structure without modern hydraulics, you need massive ropes. The text mentions ropes that are 4,200 feet long.
They are enormous.
So who actually holds the power to pull those ropes?
This is where the social hierarchy completely dissolves. The text cites an 1875 book by Rajendral Mitra called The Antiquities of Orissa, which documents a group called the Kalabetias.
Okay, who are they?
These are individuals, historically from tribal or marginalized communities, who hold the traditional unbreakable right to pull these massive ropes.
But they aren't just acting as laborers while the elite watch from the sidelines, right? Because the text mentions a ritual involving the Gajapati king, the ruler of the land, performing something called Cherapahanra.
Yes, the Cherapahanra is a stunning visual of humility.
What happens?
Before the chariots can move, the king himself takes a golden broom and sweeps the wooden floor of the chariots.
The king sweeps the floor.
The most powerful political figure in the kingdom temporarily takes on the role of a street sweeper.
Wow.
And once the sweeping is done, kings, high priests, wealthy merchants, and the Kalabetias all grab that exact same 4,200-foot rope.
Everyone together.
Everyone together. Your social status, your wealth, your intellect, it all vanishes the moment your hands grip the hemp. You are just a tiny source of kinetic energy contributing to a massive cosmic movement.
That's incredible. Now, getting them moving is a monumental effort in itself. The source describes the pahandi, the rhythmic, swaying way that heavy idols are carried out of the temple.
Right, it's an intricate movement.
They don't just march them out, they sway them back and forth like a pendulum to manage the immense weight.
Exactly, using physics.
But once they are on the road heading to their destination, the Gundicha temple, the theology takes a wild turn. We hit the 5th day of the festival, known as Hera Panchami, and the divine narrative turns into an intense family drama.
It genuinely does. The theology refuses to keep the gods distant and stoic. It humanizes them to a degree that is almost shocking.
Okay, so Goddess Lakshmi, Lord Jagannath's wife, is left behind at the main temple while her husband and his siblings go on this grand road trip.
Yes.
And she does not take it well.
Not at all.
According to the ritual narrative, she secretly travels to the Gundicha temple, furiously breaks a piece of Jagannath's wooden chariot out of pure spite, and storms back home.
It's amazing. It grounds the supreme beings in very real, messy emotions.
Seriously.
The architects of the universe are experiencing a very public marital dispute. It makes the divine accessible to anyone who has ever felt neglected or angry in a relationship.
And the drama continues on the return journey, known as the Bahuta Yatra. But there is a specific ritual during this return that I really need you to break down for me.
Sure.
It's called a Tarapana, and the mechanics of it completely shifted how I view ancient religious hierarchies.
Yeah. The Adharapana is arguably one of the most profound moments of the entire event.
So what exactly happens?
As the towering chariots are making their way back, they pause. Massive cylindrical clay pots, so large they reach all the way up to the lips of the deities, on the chariots are filled with a specialized sweet drink.
Oh, okay.
It is a massive, incredibly valuable offering of nectar.
Right, and in most traditions, that nectar would be carefully distributed to the highest priests, the king, or, the wealthiest donors as a blessing.
Exactly.
But that isn't what happens here.
Not at all. Once the sweet drink symbolically touches the lips of the idols, the servitors deliberately smash those giant clay pots right there on the wooden deck of the
So
chariot.
just breaks them.
Just shatter them. The sweet liquid violently washes over the wood and flows down into the dirt below.
Why intentionally destroy such a massive offering? That seems so counterintuitive.
Well, the source explains that this is done intentionally for the unseen, marginalized entities of the universe.
Unseen entities.
Yeah, the wandering spirits, the ghosts, the unseen forces that exist outside the margins of society. Entities that do not have physical bodies to grab the rope or enter the temple.
Oh, wow.
The nectar is spilled into the earth, specifically so these forgotten energies can consume it and find peace.
That is incredibly moving. Like, even in the middle of a grand, highly visible, million-strong public spectacle, they engineered a specific mandatory pause dedicated entirely to the invisible and the forgotten.
Yes.
It forces the participants to acknowledge that the universe is vastly larger than just the people you can see.
It completes the circle of radical inclusivity. I mean, the festival isn't just synthesizing tribal and orthodox human cultures. It is offering spiritual sustenance to all planes of existence.
And all of this heavy philosophy, biology, and inclusivity culminates in the grand finale, Niladri Beje. Right. Lord Jagannath has made the exhausting journey back to his main temple. He is ready to go inside, rest, and officially end the festival. But we can't forget about Goddess Lakshmi.
She certainly hasn't forgotten that she was left behind.
No, her anger hasn't subsided just because the trip is over.
Without a chance.
She physically blocks the main door of the temple. The text notes that the human servitors representing Jagannath and the servitors representing Lakshmi actually engage in a mock physical fight right there at the entrance.
It's quite the scene.
The Supreme Lord of the universe is effectively locked out of his own house by his angry wife.
Exactly.
So how does this cosmic standoff resolve? Because he doesn't use his divine omnipotence. Right?
No, he bribes her with sweets.
He bribes her with sweets.
He literally offers her rasagola to appease her anger and gain entry back into his own home.
It is such a brilliant narrative choice.
It really is. It takes the highest, most abstract philosophical concepts, thermodynamics, time dilation, omnipresence, and resolves them through the most ordinary, mundane human experience possible.
A domestic dispute resolved over a plate of dessert.
Exactly. It reminds the millions watching that the divine is deeply, inescapably intertwined with the everyday human experience.
So what does this all mean for us? I mean, we've looked at a phenomenon that requires literal tons of specifically measured wood, lunar mathematics calculated down to the fraction of an inch, biological heat signatures, and 4,200-foot ropes.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. We've explored how it survived historical invasions by hiding in lakes, and how it synthesized tribal fertility rites with Orthodox theology by allowing slaying and smashing pots.
It means that this chariot journey is, fundamentally, a mirror held up to humanity.
A mirror.
Yeah. It reflects our biological reality,
Yeah.
our tiny place in a massive solar system, the flaws in our social structures, and, like we just talked about, the messy beauty of our personal relationships.
Right.
It is a loud, physical reminder that moving forward in life requires integration of all different types of people and of all the different conflicting parts of ourselves.
Which brings us entirely back to you listening right now.
Yeah.
We started with the metaphor from the Kathopanishad, the idea that the massive wooden chariot is actually your own body, your own mind, and your own life's journey. And we've seen that moving these massive structures forward requires the king to drop his broom and the commoner to grab the rope, casting aside all ego, status, and social division to pull in the exact same direction.
Absolutely.
So think about your own momentum. What is the chariot in your own life right now? What massive personal journey is stalled, sinking into the sand, simply because you haven't let go of your own pride or your own rigidness to reach out and grab the rope alongside others? Because the heavy lifting is rarely meant to be done alone.
The chariot doesn't move if the ego is holding the brakes. It's a vital question to sit with.
It really is. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep questioning the structures around you. Keep exploring the mechanics of how things work. And we'll catch you on the next one.